I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. Blondie. Yeah, call me. You know, it's hard to believe that the lead singer of Blondie, is she 80 years old, Chris? Is she coming up on 80 or 80? Do we know?
Debbie Harry?
Debbie Harry.
She turned 80 2 months ago.
That's scary shit. It lets you know. Like in my mind, Debbie Harry is still like a teeny bopper doing cartwheels on the beach in that song. Right? That was the video. She was young, very young, vibrant, 80 years old now. That allows you to know, folks, just how fast it goes. Goes fast. And we can have it two ways, Chris. We can have one way we can have it is well, you can be unhealthy, not take care of yourself. You can smoke, you can drink, do all the things, right? And then it just doesn't turn out well for you. You know, smokers and drinkers do well for a while, but at some point it catches up with them, and they end up looking like crap, and they die young. You know, cirrhosis, liver problems, you name it, heart disease, you name it. It's all out there. It's all out there for the taking. But you see, when I was a kid, we knew about smoking and drinking and not coming home at all. Only women bleed. Only women bleed. Do you know that song, Chris?
Can't say that I do.
Really? We'll play it at the end of the show.
Maybe I do, and I just don't know the lyrics.
He smokes and drinks and don't come home at all. Yeah. Yep. That was a song from the 70s. I think the same guy wrote a song called School's Out Forever. At any rate, we knew about that when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, we were lied to about the smoking thing for a long time. Doctors, 4 out of 5 doctors. Before Dentyne did a commercial saying 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Dentyne gum to their patients, that was a real ad. Before that, they used to have 4 out of 5 doctors recommend cool cigarettes because they're soothing on your throat. Well, guess what? You wouldn't need to soothe your throat if you didn't smoke. Okay, maybe we could do that. But no one did. No one did. They just thought smoking is inert. They would say nicotine is inert. And guess what? They I think they're probably right about nicotine. It's inert. But when you mix it with all the other junk that comes with the nicotine, well, now you got yourself a problem. Right? And it probably wouldn't be so bad if the cigarette tobacco was natural. You'd probably have fewer people getting hurt or dying from it. But at some point, we knew the truth about cigarettes. We've always known the truth about alcohol. You could see it. We know the truth about crack. We know the truth about cocaine. We know the truth about all of it. But the one thing they told us that was good for us was sugar. Right? They gave it to kids at birthday parties. They still do. People still think I need a tinfoil hat because I talk about sugar. You're crazy. I go to parties. Vinnie, tell me what to do to get thin. You're the guy that gets people to lose weight. Tell me what to do. I'll do anything. Stop eating sugar. Stop eating grains. What are you saying? Pizza? Tacos? I can't do that. Well, 30 seconds ago, you said you would do anything to lose the weight. I'm giving you some pretty simple things to do. Really simple. Stop sugars, stop grains, stop eating processed foods, which when you stop doing that, you cut out all of the seed oils, right? All of the other crap. It's simple. You either do it or you don't. And you can lie to yourself all you want. You can lie to yourself. Oh, I just had a piece of, oh, it was, guess what can't tell a lie? Your liver. Your liver is the OG meritocracy. That's where there's a meritocracy going on in your liver. Your liver doesn't care what you do. Your liver doesn't even judge you, right? Nothing judges you. You can't be judged. Your liver just takes whatever you do, and your liver is the truth bomb. It will just take what you give it, and that's what you get. You eat sugars, you eat grains, you get fat. You get hypertension. You get high triglycerides. You become insulin resistant. You get type 2 diabetes and so on. That's what your liver does for you. You stop doing those things, your liver will reverse all of that and make you healthy. How do I know this? Because I've taken tens of millions of pounds off of people. That's not bullshit, folks. It used to be, I used to try to track it with my clients when I only worked with like 20, 30 clients a year. But now when I started working with all these people on the internet and all the people in the VIP group, all the people in the other group and what have you, I have all of those people losing hundreds of pounds each. Well, it works. It works. Chris, I'm a little agitated today.
You are more than normal?
Yeah.
Huh.
I bought,
Well,
no, hang on.
Go ahead.
I bought a brand new pair of skates. I don't think I have over 200 miles on these skates. And look at this. The screw came out right there. That latches this on. I finished my skating session. I got my, I was doing 15 miles today. But I called Inline Skate Warehouse and I said, hey, can you send me a screw? And they said, yeah, that'll be $10. And I said, these are a brand new pair of skates I bought from you guys because you have a warranty program. And they're like, yeah, you got to take a picture of it and send it to us. I said, you can't just send me a screw. We can't just do that. We got to go through warranty for an effing screw. I mean, I could go down to if I knew exactly what size, I could take the one out of the other side and go match it up over at I don't know, Lowe's or Home Depot and come home with the screw. But I wanted to get exactly the one in case something else breaks. I don't want you guys to get warranty. I was like, you just send me a screw. Because you got to take pictures and do all that. Then we'll send you a screw. What's wrong with the world, Chris? I get you got to have policies, right? Yeah, we have a problem with the customer that my coffee didn't show up. What do? We ship them another thing of coffee and we go fight it out with the post office, right? That's what we do. I'm trying to get a screw out of a multi-million-dollar company and they can't do it. Oh, there's got to be an issue. That's what we are.
Ironically, it costs them more than $10 in time to have that conversation with you, look at the picture, decide they're going to send it to you, then send it to you. Right? That costs more than the $10 that they're going to get out of it.
It certainly does, Chris. And we'll see what happens. I'm totally enjoying my rollerblades. Right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I've been out, we're getting cooler days now. I'm not sweating as much. When I was going out there in the heat, man, I would come back soaking wet. I would have to change and the whole thing. Now I can skate 90 minutes. I get a little damp. I just change my t-shirt and move on. Just keep rocking and rolling with my day. Right. Get back to selling vitamins and doing podcasts and do everything we do around here. Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now I'm thinking about this song. Sorry, Debbie. Do you know this song, Chris? Do you know who Melanie was? She died a few years ago. Melanie. She had a bunch of hits back in the day.
Yeah, I cannot say that I know that from hearing it as a song anywhere other than Boogie Nights.
That song was in Boogie Nights?
Oh yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it was a big hit.
When Mark Wahlberg is doing his audition.
That's the song they used?
Yeah. Nothing like Marky Mark and 70s folk music to go together.
Yeah, I saw that movie. It was an interesting movie. Chris, we could sit here and yap all day long, but that doesn't help Brandon because I think he's got questions.
Seems like he's got some questions. Brandon, give me a thumbs up in the camera if you're ready to come on in. We'll bring you in. There he is. Hey, man, you got to unmute your mic and then we can chat with you.
Hey, man.
Hi, guys. How we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. It's good to see you guys. It's good to. I'm sure you hear this a lot, but I've been listening going on 5 years. Found you right at the end of 2019. So I kind of feel like one of the gang. I know I'm not, but it's good to talk to you too, and hopefully I can give you something useful tonight. So.
Why do you feel like you're not one of the gang?
Well, just I'm not real active in any social media really, but I listen to all the podcasts, and I hear all the stories and all the things that go on. So it's like listening to friends that I just don't talk to. So that's.
Well, I need you to know that you are one of the gang. I spent a lifetime feeling like a bit of an outcast, right? I was never the popular kid in school, and then I got quasi popular because I got really good at one sport, and I was in the deep South where that sport matters. That's bottom line.
Sure.
Right. And then got to college. I was on a scholarship, and then girls paid attention to me. But I felt like that was bullshit because it's like, are they paying attention to me because they like me? Or is it because I walk out on the field in front of tens of thousands of fans and, everyone wants to be part of that? When you're deep South, you're in college, playing D1 ball, you see the machine around you, right? And you don't sit there and think, oh, these people like me because they think I'm magnanimous. You know why people like you, right? Why wasn't it that popular when I was a kid? Why did everyone tease me and I had a speech impediment and everything else? Well, so I don't like when people say, oh, I don't feel like I'm part of it. No, you're part of it, brother. Yeah. You're part of all of this.
I know way more about you guys than you know about me because I've been, again, listening for a long time. And it's, like I say, just good to meet you, introduce myself. And like I say, I think it's somewhat ironic. My old middle school gym teacher encouraged me actually last summer to get in touch with you and tell you my story because it could potentially be helpful to others that are on this same path. So I saw the email come out and jumped on it, and here we are. So.
Well, I want to hear your story because it does two things. Number one, we can possibly help you continue on, and that's why I started doing these on Friday. I've had so many experts on the Friday shows, all of these people, and I still bring them on. They still come on the Friday show. But the bottom line is maybe before you started listening, we used to have a Saturday show. It was called That Was the Listener Show.
Yep.
And we called it Success Stories back then. And we canceled that show because we just had too many shows going. We had 5 shows a week.
Right.
And every time I talked to someone during the consults that I do, they would always say the same thing. Man, bring back the Saturday show. I got more inspiration from those people than anywhere else. So that's why you're here, brother. You're here for help, but you're here to help other people. That sort of cuts both ways.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, and I'd say for me, I think it's important for everybody to know that for me, weight's been a lifelong issue. I don't have any memories of being a thin person. My memories are always of being, having weight issues and being teased and being, today's world, we'd say bullied, for it. And really being overweight was, call it whatever you want, helped me to find, Fat, the first documentary. And that's just opened door after door, listening to other podcasts, reading books, other documentaries, and, has, I think in 5 years, made good progress. And the main thing is I've been able to bounce weight in the past, but it's always came back. And this is the first time that, I'm again 5 years in and haven't gone the other way. So,
well, let's start there, because I'm intrigued. So, like most people, you had a weight problem your whole life. So like most people, you've bounced up and down, gained weight, lost weight, what have you.
Sure.
When you came on to me in 2019, was it because your gym teacher said, "Hey, go watch this movie," or did you just happen upon the movie?
Yeah. So at some point in my life, I played high school football, wrestled my junior, senior year in high school. I was in the Army National Guard for 9 years, so I've got some military service. At some point, I tore the cartilage off the femur in my right leg. And I teach, we're in Ohio. In 2020, we shut down for COVID. And some of us would show up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think it was, to send food out to the kids so they would still have, their breakfast and lunch equivalent food for the week. And my job was I was loading onto the bus, a lot of rotational lifting, and I flared my right knee up. It was as bad as it ever been. So I went, long story short, went through orthopedics, MRIs, had it scoped, and the doctor I was seeing at the time wanted to do what was called a Macy procedure, where they grow cartilage and then implant it and let it, essentially like a patch, to try to repair your cartilage. Got all the way to the point where I was ready to sign the papers. And it was a gnarly recovery. It would have been a gnarly recovery, like something like I've 4 months, no weight bearing. And then a lot after that of, physical therapy and different things. Got to the, last appointment, ready to go. And a day later or 2 days later, the nurse calls me and said that insurance denied my claim because my BMI was too high.
Oh, wow.
And at that point, I'm 6 foot. The highest number I saw was 293. So that put my BMI around a 39 at that point in time. And they wouldn't do the surgery until I got down to a 35 BMI. So at that point,
that would be what, about 250, 255?
Yeah, it was roughly 35 pounds.
Yeah.
To get down to where they wanted me to be. So at that point in time, I would, for my lunch periods here at school, I would watch random documentaries on Amazon during lunch just to have a little bit of something else in the day. And again, stumbled upon, and I don't remember the name of the documentary, but the first one I saw wasn't Fat. It was a different documentary, but it was in the same lane. And my former colleague, who retired a couple years ago, he actually stumbled upon Fat, and we were talking, and he told me I needed to watch Fat, and I told him he needed to watch the one I watched. And then from there, I, started listening to the podcast, started implementing the, no sugars, no grains as, baby steps at first. And eventually got to the point where, as I well know now, that a lot of weight came off pretty quickly. I got down to the BMI. I got down to around 260, and my knee wasn't hurting as bad anymore. So I was able to, up to this point, postpone that surgery. And again, that was 5 years ago. At this point, I'm probably 245-ish. So again, that's how I became part of the crew. Was, again, just call it luck, call it whatever you want, but was able to stumble onto it and latched on with both hands and have done a pretty good job of holding on ever since.
Yeah, your story is not uncommon. And by the way, as you probably know, if you've been listening for any period of time, I take no credit for any of this.
I know.
Because I'm just out there just telling you guys, hey, go do this.
Right.
I'm not going through a struggle, man. I'm not there with you knee pain. I'm not there at 295. I got none of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All I'm doing is suggesting. I sit here in my office and suggest.
Right.
To a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You guys do all the hard work. And, I'm always shocked as to how people find a guy like me, because I'm not the most internet savvy guy out there at all. By far, I'm not doing everything I can do. Mike Rowe calls up, I go do his show.
Right.
Adam Carolla gives me a shout. I'll go run to California and do his show, because we're all friends, right?
Sure.
And we're all about the same age, and we all like to support each other. And then people say, yeah, I was on a flight and I saw fat. Fat is still, out of all my documentaries, fat is the one. Some people have watched it. I've had people, I've watched it 20 times, 30 times, just keep watching it over and over. And it keeps, when we see the checks that come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get to see it. It's the highest grossing movie I have by far. Fat 2 did very well. Beyond Impossible shocked everyone. It did so well. And then the last one I did, we only have it on one platform. It's on Amazon. So it doesn't do as well as the ones that are on 80 different platforms around the world.
Yeah.
But you can expect it to do as well. And some people find the book or the audio book version of it. So I'm glad I did all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it really makes me happy when I hear these stories, right? I mean, think about it. You were getting ready to go get a surgery. Now you might not even need the surgery.
Right.
The other one I always hear, and I don't know how this works. I don't pretend to know how it works. The number of people who have done consults where they just called me, and usually you'll see it in the half-hour consults, because they just want to call to say hi and thank me because they finally got pregnant.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, hey, dude, I don't even know your wife. Right. I always like to make that joke.
Sure.
But when you think about it, they're going to fertility clinics and everything else, and they're trying to get pregnant, and they're taking all these drugs and everything else. And then they give up, and one or both of their couples find NSNG, low carb, some version of it, and start doing it. Hell, I'm not going to even take that credit. Some people start with me, and then they go really overboard, and they go carnivore. They go more, Sean Baker, but this is where they started. And then next thing you know, they're giving up on taking drugs and everything else, and the wife gets pregnant. And it wasn't until very recently that someone actually named their baby Vinnie. Took a long time, but they did it, So I'm going to ask you, Brandon, if you have a kid, do you have a kid?
I have 3.
If you have a 4th, that oops baby.
Yeah.
Look, I know you're a school teacher. My parents were school teachers. You probably don't want the 4th one unless your wife is independently wealthy.
Yeah, Probably not in that lane yet, but
yeah. I got news for you. As a school teacher, you're not going to hit that lane.
nope.
But I could tell you the cool thing about being a teacher. My parents, they worked their asses off. Each of them, I think my dad, 37 years, my mom, 36, 35. And they're living pretty good.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because they get that pension for the rest of their life. So there's something to be said for that, right?
Yeah. And I think all of what you just said and what I do, it's all about helping others.
Yeah.
It's not about, I teach primarily middle school right now. And, I always tell my kids coming in, it's like everybody's fighting a battle. Everybody's got a story. And my job is to not make your day any worse. My job is to just try to give you some stuff you need, help you, have a good experience here and try to help you figure out life. So it's all about service to others. And that's where I've taken, I have a lot of podcasts in my library, but this is, again, 5 years. This is the one that I don't get more than 2 or 3 shows behind because I just feel support. I feel little nuggets from each show that just help me keep going because, and honestly, it's helped me to pass things to other people who aren't as far down the road as I am, and to try to help them, understand what's out there, really unlearn a lot of stuff that they thought they knew, and not to do the work for them, but just to help them potentially overcome or not come in contact with the same problems or roadblocks that I've had along the way. And that's, to me, that's what this life's about, helping others. And like I say, I was almost that 30-minute consult this summer. I really wanted to just call and say hi and introduce myself, and got some cold feet. And then, like I said, I felt like this was a good chance to, and again, just, I hear, listen to Tim Mallion and Scott King, and I hear their stories, and every story is unique, but every story we all, we share a lot of the same struggles. And I think when people know that they're not the only ones, that helps to keep the fire burning. So.
Oh, absolutely. And Tim will hear this. Both of them, they both listen all the time. Tim's a school teacher just like you.
Right.
I'm wondering, you're up in Ohio? You said you're
yes,
in
Southeastern Ohio. Yes.
You see a lot of the kids are obese now, or you experiencing it?
Yeah. And we have, I would say, I feel like the scale has shifted. There's, we have a lot of kids who have weight problems at, 10, 11, 12 years old. And, it's almost impossible unless they would bring food from home to get away from, it's the same story as Gina told years ago about her son bringing home the stuff from in Los Angeles, or I think they're that part of California. Same story here. It's this morning we had peanut butter and jelly for breakfast, fruit juice, and that's probably the best meal of the week as far as nutrition goes. And obviously we know that's not.
And there's no other option for the kids. It's just PB&J and juice.
From the school. Now they're more than welcome to bring things in from home, but I don't see that very often. So.
Yeah, it's like, man, the whole thing is upsetting. Gina just sent me something the other day of a new thing that her kid brought home. It was worse than what was being done before. And I was like, no, I know what it was. She was invited to the school, for a parent day or whatever. And she was in a lunchroom and she took a picture of what was on the plate. It did not look edible. There was nothing there. That it looked like some kind of slop they would feed you in some kind of Louisiana prison system or something. You know, it's just, it
Yeah,
was not good.
I'm a creature of habit. I eat the same thing pretty much every day for lunch. I bring from home, but the food I got to get. I mean, nutritionally speaking, the food. I mean, it's all carbohydrates, very little protein, but our staff does a good job to try to make it edible for the kids.
Right.
But you know, my daughter, she's a 7th grader here where I teach, and you know, I really don't. My big thing has been a couple big things. I don't want my kids to go through the same struggles I've had. They're way ahead of me. They're way better ahead of me than I was when I was their age as far as weight goes. And they hear you on podcasts, and I talk to them about making choices. And so with my daughter, we agreed to like a relatively clean. It's not super clean, but it's a Fairlife ultra filtered protein that's at least better than muffins or
absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so, and again, I know from experience that this has to be organic. This can't, if I try to, and you've talked about it nearly every show, that, you know, all you can do is control you and try to support those who want the support. So I know, don't want to can't force anybody, but want them to, you know, just give them advice when they want it. They see me as an example, and from there, it's really up to them to make their decisions and, you know, live with the consequences at that point. I mean, it's like you said, it's simple, not necessarily easy, but it's simple.
And Brandon, as you lose more weight, because we're going to get you down below 200 at your height, you need to be below 200. Do you have any outside interest in any kind of sports or outdoor activities or anything that your kids can? I know you guys are getting ready to go into fall, and then winter where you are can be kind of brutal.
Yes. I mean, for me, I've been since really, you know, my sophomore, junior in high school, I've been a 4 to 5 day workout week, you know, cardio, some strength. I've done some, you know, in my early, before my knee kind of fell apart, you know, I logged one year where I ran 1,400 miles. I've done several half marathons, done a marathon, done a couple half Ironmans back, you know, 15, 20 years ago now. But I personally, I get 4 to 5 good days a week. My kids, we live out in the country, so my youngest has captured every toad and tree frog within half a mile radius of our house. We swim. We're pretty active. My middle kid's in soccer. My oldest is actually at marching band practice right now. So we're relatively active. But wintertime gets tough, especially last winter being kind of a real winter where it didn't get above freezing for, you know, 5 or 6 weeks. There's that winter time is a struggle for, not necessarily for me. I still get my time in, but my kids don't get as much, just because.
No place to go skiing around where you are, but is there ice skating rinks and ponds and that kind of stuff, or is that just too far away from that kind of thing?
There is probably about an hour. I mean, Columbus has some different skating rinks. There's some other little local ones around. We kind of gotten very loosely into roller skating a little bit.
Yeah.
So the kids like going there, and which is, I mean, again, great. I think I always walk out with a sweat. So
it's all a good thing, but you got to find winter things for them to do, even if it's hiking around, which gets boring for kids. But that's why I was thinking, oh, you know, there's, you know, some dude ice skating near you or whatever. That would be cool too.
Yeah. I mean, we got out and we did sled riding when it snowed, but yeah, it's like I say, it's and with different schedules, it's, you know, we're.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Well, listen, man, it was great chatting with you. Keep doing what you're doing. If there's anything I can do to help you, if you have any questions right now, you know.
No, well, I mean, the weight has, I don't really check weight anymore except when I go to the doctor. I'm more of a non-scale victory kind of guy. So that, for me, that's the, if I could tell people anything, that would be like, cherish those non-scale victories. I was a slave to the scale for a long time, and it would alter my mood, good or bad, based on whatever number came up. But at the beginning of this process, I bought a belt, and I Googled which belt won't cut into your gut when you're driving. And lo and behold, one came up, and I bought it. That was in 2020. I've gone four loops in, or 4 holes in. So I'm ready to get another belt. That belt is, I think it was a 40 or 42 when I bought it. And now I was in size 40. I like a certain pair of shorts. I was wearing 40s, and now I feel okay getting into 36s. So for me, the moments when I want to quit, or I want to, get frustrated, I always, and I don't know where I heard this, I don't know who to give credit to, but I always tell myself, I know how the story ends if I go back to the old ways.
Yeah.
I know that eventually I'll be over 300 pounds. I may have to have knees replaced anyway, but that'll be sooner. And but I don't know how the story ends if I keep going. So for me, that's my motivation to myself, just to keep doing what, stay the course. And then again,
would you say it makes it easier to buckle down, Brandon?
Oh,
Sorry,
sure.
that was a belt joke.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think for a long time I compared myself to you, Vinnie. Honestly, I wanted to be that strict, and my family, again, isn't. They are not as convinced as I am, and so I learned a long time ago to, when I'm going to step off and eat things that I know are bad or will push me in the other direction, I enjoy the experience, and then get back on and start making the right decisions. I don't feel, and that's why I tell people here at school that we talk about the same things. Like, if you're going to do it and enjoy it. Don't do it and hate yourself for it, because then you've wasted the experience. And so yeah, those little things of, like I say, being able to put those pants on and feel comfortable wearing them to school, where 5 years ago I couldn't even have gotten them on. Those are the things. Those are the nuggets that tell me I'm doing the right thing. And we don't have time probably, but get into the triglycerides and HDL and how all those numbers have drastically changed for the better.
Well, you can, I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time, but you could quickly tell me where your triglycerides were and where they are now.
Yeah.
If you know offhand.
Yeah, it was in 2019, my triglycerides, I want to say, were like 150. And like a year later, I got a chart on my phone, they were like 75. And then the last NMR particle test I had done, they were, I want to say, 47 or 48.
Yeah.
And my HDL has more than double. Like, I listened to the cholesterol myth book. That's not the right name. but it's a book on cholesterol that was suggested by somebody. And looking, names are.
Was that Jason Fung or was that Eric Westman?
It might have been Westman. I don't remember, but it was basically, went through all of the different, talked about statins and talked about, the HDL or triglyceride to HDL ratio. And like I said, for me, all those markers, according to those people, have improved. My doctor still wants to put me on a statin.
Was it Johnny Bowden that did it? Bowden? B-O-W-D?
It was like cholesterol, the cholesterol myth, or
was it the Great Cholesterol Myth?
Yes.
Yes, that's Johnny Bowden.
And it took me a while to consume that and listen and really, try to understand what they were talking about. But again, according to all the metrics, LDL's creeping up a little bit. I don't know. It's like it was at 150 last time. Again, haven't really.
Look, it's getting your triglycerides down like that from 150 some odd down to 140, and doctors would tell you you can't do that without drugs, or you can't do it because genetically you can't do it, and you did it with nothing. You just did it.
Yeah.
Right. And you doubled your HDL. All cholesterol is good. Pretty much.
Sure. Yeah.
All dense particles, and
it's like say there's, and that's what I've told people who will ask, is it healthy to do what you're doing? And I tell them, if I find something that tells me it's unhealthy, I'll reconsider. But at this point, you can't tell me being 50 pounds lighter than I was 5 years ago isn't healthy, or having lower triglycerides isn't healthy, or I could keep going.
Yeah.
So I tell, I say it must be right. Or, so like I say, I really just, like I say, understand it's a journey. There's no destination to this. I don't foresee, I'm sure there'll be trouble on the horizon at some point, but I give big props to Anna. I use, I smoke 15 to 20 pounds of pork butt every couple months, and that's what I meal prep with, and pair that with we have chickens at home, so we have eggs, and like I say, I'm to the point in life where I eat and I don't think about food anymore, which my first 38 years of life, that wasn't necessarily the case. So again, I know you don't take any credit, but very appreciative of all you do. And even though we don't talk much, I really look forward to the conversations and just the support. So,
well, Brandon, I appreciate you and everything you're doing. So please keep doing it. And your kids are going to come around, your wife, everyone around you will come around. Just keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. You're not just saving your life, you're helping them too. You're making life better for everyone. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. It was great hearing it. And if you ever want to come back, you have an open forum here. Love to have you back.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You have a great day.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Capelli, folks. Villa Capelli olive oil is the best olive oil on the planet. Look, there are other great olive oils out there. I'm not going to lie. There are a few companies doing it right, but most of the stuff sold right here in the U.S. You walk into any grocery store, you go into your Whole Foods, whatever, you're not guaranteed 100% pure olive oil. As a matter of fact, they can cut it up to 40% and still call it pure olive oil. I don't know how the government allows them to get away with that. I hope somehow RFK Jr. will get them to correct that. Who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we will find out. But in the meantime, you can go to Villa Capelli, Villa Capelli, CAPPELLI.com, villacapelli.com. When you get to checkout, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE. You will save 10%. not just the first time, but every time you go back. Just make sure every time you put in promo code Vinnie, Vinnie, Villa Capelli olive oil. It's all I use here. It's all Anna Vocino uses, and she's a great chef. So you may want to consider using it too. Villa Capelli. All right, Chris, who's our next caller out there?
Ironically, the other Chris that's hanging out with us, we're going to give him a second just to make sure that he's ready. Vinnie, you said something at the beginning of the show. You were talking about smoking and how people thought that smoking was good for us, bad for us, terrible for us. And then we found out that obviously it's not great. Did you know it? So if I say the name Edward Bernays, does that mean anything to you?
God, that name sounds familiar. It really does. But no, I can't peg it right now.
So he is the godfather of public relations, right?
Okay.
He was behind making Dixie cups a popular thing. He was behind the change to Betty Crocker cake mix. So Betty Crocker was struggling to sell cake mix, and they brought him in to do a bunch of marketing consulting. And he figured out that it was because people thought that it was cheating. So they removed the egg from the mix and had people add fresh egg to the Betty Crocker cake mix. Huh. But he's also well known for two other things. One is making bacon a breakfast food. The other is making smoking socially acceptable.
I thought that, wow, I guess I never thought about that. When did bacon become a breakfast food?
So God, this is probably the only time I've ever used my college degree. I'm trying to remember, but I think it was the late 20s, because he became really popular with the Torches of Freedom campaign for smoking. So he tied smoking to women's suffrage.
Really?
And said, strike a lucky strike. That was an Edward Bernays thing. So I think it was right after that he did it. And he did a bunch of work for the Beech Nut Packaging Company, who could not sell their bacon. And breakfast at the time was like toast, orange juice, and coffee. So he went out and got a couple thousand doctors to sign a statement saying that a protein-rich breakfast was better than a light breakfast.
Huh.
So it's not all bad, but same guy. All of those things. Who knew?
Yeah, it's... Look, I just pulled up Suffragette City. All right. At any rate, everything becomes a thing. Right. And it all starts somewhere. Like, I never knew that. When you think about it, you would think, why would pork be part of breakfast? Right. Why would bacon be part of breakfast? Because we grew up with bacon being part of breakfast. Right. And when you look at other things, I was telling someone the other day, he was asking me, one of the guys, when I do the consults, he was like, yeah, he goes, when I was a kid, they said coffee was stunt your growth. So my mom didn't give me coffee. And the guy, I said to him, I said, how tall are you? And he goes, I'm 6'8". And it's like, well, you could have probably
didn't drink enough.
You could have used a cup or two. And then I told him the story. I said, I started looking into coffee in college. I'd always had coffee. I started drinking when I was 4, as it turns out. And that's the best recollection my mom has, because I wouldn't drink milk in the morning unless it was colored with coffee. Right.
So the opposite of the way that you do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's just black. Right. But when I was a kid, my grandfather would give me milk and he would pour coffee in it. Coffee milk is what they call it for kids. And that's how my coffee started. By the way, it was sweet back then. He had a little sugar to it. It was a treat. It was delectable. It was a treat. And started drinking it very young. So I was always a coffee drinker. And then when I was in college, all of those ads, the coffee achievers. But you would hear, oh, don't drink so much coffee. Coffee's good for you. Coffee's bad. Coffee's good. Coffee's bad. And yeah, I just got tired of it. So I was like, I started looking into it, and there was nothing bad about coffee. I used to ask professors in college, they would go, yeah, coffee's bad. I'll go, well, why? Well, because of caffeine. Caffeine's a stimulant. It's inert. It doesn't do anything except stimulate probably your brain. So what's the problem? It's bad for you. Why? Right? There was no answer to it. You see, I've been asking that. That's why I am where I am in health and fitness today. That's how I came on everything. If you keep asking questions to stuff that don't make sense, when you look around and you go, okay, 2 and 2 is not equaling 4, you need to go figure out how to get 2 and 2 to equal 4. And when you can't, then there's got to be a different answer. You've been lied to, right? And I've been doing that my whole life. And guess what? It's been working out for me because I was able to figure a lot of things out, right? If you go read studies and do everything else, you learn. You realize that you're being lied to. But then you got to try to figure out why you're being lied to. And that's when, back in college, I learned about C.W. Post, the guy who came up with Post cereal. Just like Kellogg's, he grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist church, another religious guy, right? And he just like Kellogg, he believed that, any kind of stimulant or eating meat or anything that might cause you to want to masturbate was a bad thing. So how do you fix it? Get away from things that make you want to masturbate. And just like meat, he came up with a morning drink where he burnt grains. And once you burn them and you steep them in water, it kind of looks like coffee. It's got kind of a burnt taste to it. And he called it Postum. That's where Postum came from. It's burnt grains made by C.W. Post. Well, back in those days, there was no internet or anything. And if you want to sell something, the best way to do it is to create something negative on the stuff that's already selling. So he's going against coffee. So he's got to start a campaign saying that coffee, and he literally said these two things: coffee will stunt your growth and coffee will make you dumb. Those two things.
There's a third one that's probably not appropriate for the show.
What's the third one? Let's hear it.
Oh, if you want to look at some of the ads, they are some of the most sexist things you could imagine.
And these are from Post, right?
Oh yeah, CW Post, between Postum and Grape Nuts. It's like, if you want a man to ever look at you, you shouldn't drink coffee, is basically what it boils down to. Right? Like they don't want a woman with energy.
Wow. That's crazy. It's just, when you think about it, it's ludicrous. It's actually ludicrous. And I tell this to people, and he started this campaign. They have a lot of money. They can buy ads in newspapers and everything else and tell you that coffee is sexist. Coffee will make women ugly. I didn't know that one. What does the actual ad say, Chris?
I'm trying to find the one that I saw. You and I were actually talking about this the other day in relationship to the coffee one. But it's not that it will make you ugly. It's basically like coffee will make you lose your good disposition, and no man wants to be around that.
Okay, Chris, here's what I want you to do. Not for this podcast. I want you to pull together 5 of the craziest anti-coffee campaign ever. Just all the campaigns. I don't care if they're Post or Kellogg or whoever else. And we need to give them over to our girl, Nixie.
Yep, I dropped. That's actually the context we were having that conversation the other day. I gave her a few of them. Here you go. Here's one, Vinny.
Okay.
Sooner or later, drugging, even in the milder forms, clouds and mars even the fairest complexion. Coffee drinking isn't considered drugging by most people, but physicians know the difference and know the average cup of coffee contains 2 to 3 grains, each of the drugs of caffeine and tannin that affect stomach, liver, and kidneys, disturb the circulation, and work havoc, not wreak havoc, but work havoc with nerves and healthy skin. Any woman who values a clear complexion soon finds that a change from coffee to Postum makes makes rapidly for personal comfort and wholesome beauty.
Wow. All right, Chris, I need 5 of those in a file for Nixie.
I think five will be too easy.
Okay.
So
You know
I'll
what?
grab those while we're on.
Let's get as many. Maybe we could do 2 different threads with those, because people need. Listen, my job is to right the wrongs done society through health and fitness. That's all I'm doing here. Nothing more, nothing less. So if we could get 2 threads out of it, let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. Let's go after Big Cereal.
I love it.
All right. You got that? All
I
right.
do. I'm going to start grabbing those while we're on here. I think
While I'm talking to Chris, I
afraid
want
of at least a little bit of caffeine.
Chris?
I know is in the queue here. What?
While I'm talking to Chris, I want you to promise me by the time I get off with Chris, we're going to have 10.
Oh, I can do that. That's not going to be a
All
problem.
right. Well, let's see where you are. Let's see how many you can get, because I want to do it.
Chris, you're going to have to talk for a while. No pressure. No pressure at all. I'm just
Let's
kidding.
bring-
If you're ready to come on in, Chris, give us that thumbs up in the camera and we'll bring you on in. Ooh, double barrel thumbs up, Vinny.
Hey, man.
Hey,
Welcome to the show.
hey, thank you.
So, Chris, how did you find us in all of this?
Well, I've talked to you twice before. We've talked about cycling, but initially, that's the dog in the background. Initially, of course, she does this right when I'm talking. I initially found you way back when, at some point when I used to listen to the Adam Carolla show. And prior to that, I found low carb through Dr. Cordain and Joe Friel.
Yeah.
And actually, this is kind of timely because on your Wednesday show today, you were talking about LMNT and the lawsuits against them. And I'm not surprised because of the paleo guy who's behind it or involved in it, who does have a degree in biochemistry that he used to tout on his podcast years ago. So he definitely knows how to work the system, both from what the body can do and then how to create the stuff. So it's not surprising. And of course, whenever I would hear LMNT advertised on Lance's podcast, because they're a sponsor,
Sure.
I would always kind of chuckle to myself when they would say there's no sugar. And I'm like, well, no, there is. Otherwise, it wouldn't taste sweet, like you said. And it would be interesting to see if after this lawsuit, if this lawsuit is successful, if folks go after like Coca-Cola for all their claims about zero sugar in the Coke Zero or whatever. So, but
It's going to be hard to go up against those big companies because they have it figured out right, left, and center. But yeah, the Element guys, and look, I don't wish anyone ill will. But, when someone comes up with a competing product and they started, we sell a lot of ultra salt, but they started after us and just marched right past us. And I went, wait a minute. Usually when a product takes off this fast, there's sugar, right? Because there's the crack, you got the crack in the product, right? Mm-hmm. So I went and looked. I got some. I was at I can't remember where I was at an event, and they had some Element there, and I brought some home with me, and I mixed it up exactly to the way they said mix it up, and I took a taste, and I went, okay, I've had ice cream with less sugar. You cannot tell me that there's not sugar in this product, even though the label basically says no sugar for the most part, and then I did the thing that I do with sugar. It's a Vinnie test. I take a little bit and I put it right in the crux of my arm, right where your arm bends, right? I just take it. I took some on my finger from the cup and I just smeared it all over my arm. And I let it halfway dry. And then I curled my arm in like this to see if it sticks.
Yep.
Sugar, when it starts to dry, gets sticky.
Yep.
Guess what happened?
Your arm stuck.
My arm got a little sticky. And okay. Here we are.
Yep.
I didn't say anything. Because I think we talked about it in meetings. It's like, do I say something? Because I don't know exactly how much is in there. I just know it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's like, if I say something, I have a competing product, people are going to go, oh, it's just sour grapes and what have you. Right. And right around that time, I think my buddy Tortorich said something unbeknownst to me. It came to me when he put it out there. He just went, look, we took this stuff and we ran it. I think he ran it through a lab. Chris, do you remember what happened meaning Mike, Chris? Do you remember?
With LMNT?
Yeah, I think Tro went after him and said, hey, we broke it down and we put it in the lab and there was a lot of sugar. And people came after Tro, right? And it was like, oh, why are you doing this? Come on, this guy's a good guy. And I think he's a good guy. The guy that puts it out.
So in his testing, he found 400 milligrams of maltodextrin.
400?
Instead of 4 milligrams, which is what they claimed was in it, which is interesting because they said, there's basically none in it. And then they said, yeah, there may be trace amounts up to 4 milligrams. And in their testing, if this is the same Dr. Tro that we're talking about, 400 milligrams of maltodextrin.
Which is 4 grams, right? That's a shit.
No, it'd be 0.4 grams.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So
we don't metric on this podcast.
Yeah, I get screwed. If it was 4,000 milligrams, then it would have been 4 grams.
Right.
Anyway, did you say 400 or 4,000, Chris?
400.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I misspoke. So yeah, I knew it was in there. Tro came out and said something. He doesn't have a horse in a race. He's not selling a product. He's not selling a competing product. So we found out right there, oh, isn't this interesting? And now there's a lawsuit, right? So I don't wish anyone ill will, but if you're lying to people,
Mm-hmm.
get your house in order. Get your shit straight. I'm sorry. That's why I created a supplement company, because so many people are lying to people. I just want to tell the truth. And I hope he figures it out and tells the truth.
Yeah, we'll see. I will say that eventually I stopped listening to his show because he used to actually have it was kind of a Q&A thing, kind of, he would have Q&A and he'd also have experts on, but eventually it all became about his participating in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's literally what it, and it was almost like he was getting free advice. But anyways, that was then, this is now. So, no, and I saw the email come out from you folks about looking for people to come on. I kind of was thinking like, well, my favorite, call-ins, or when you have folks on the show that aren't, subject matter experts, are the ones where it's like the Scott Kings and the Tim Mallions, where it's not all success, right? It's the ones where the folks open up and talk about the struggles they've had and how and how they've managed to get through it. And it's not from a sense of like watching a car crash on the side of the road sort of thing. It's more like I can more easily identify with these folks, And so I thought, well, maybe I'd come on and just, share a little bit about the last like 4 years or so, and how, basically I went through a shitstorm in my personal life, divorce, and finding out I'm on the spectrum, high functioning. So I'm high functioning Asperger's. So I'm more like Sheldon Cooper than I am, Rain Man. And just having to overcome that and basically start my life over at like 47. And it's just been an interesting journey these last 4 years, and how right before everything, I was doing everything right, diet, exercise, everything. I had, up to that point, I think I'd ridden more miles because of the pandemic than I had any other year. Because, gyms were closed. So I was basically on my trainer almost every day, putting in the miles in the winter.
Yeah.
And my ex-wife, wanted to separate. And that just happened literally a couple weeks before I got my diagnosis. And it just, everything went topsy-turvy. I had to move back in with my parents, and right around the corner from their house was a Dairy Queen. So,
one thing leads to another, right? I mean,
Right.
you're trying to do the best you can. They tell you on the spectrum, your wife leaves you and you move in next to a Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong? When they say you're on the spectrum, a lot of people are on the spectrum, because we didn't have tests for it before.
Right.
And obviously you've skated by 40 some odd years without anyone noticing. What made you go and get tested?
Goes back to cycling. So I'm sure who you've heard the name Jonathan Wouters, right?
Yeah, of course.
So he came out with his own, a lot of cyclists come out with their own books. He had one that came out. So I picked it up. And at the very end of the book, there was like a couple pages where he talked about his diagnosis. And it was almost the things he described literally sounded like me. And it, just like, I'll give you a perfect example of this. So one of the things with people on the spectrum is you tend to eat the same foods all the time, right?
Mhm.
So back in the winter, I had to go see a lipid specialist, and my partner and I were there. And so the lipid specialist was asking me all these questions, and my partner said he's probably the one person that can tell you exactly what he's had for breakfast and lunch for the past 6 months, because it's always the same. Every morning it's, so it's two eggs, 2 pieces of bacon, half an avocado in the morning, every morning, no matter what. And then for lunch during the week when I'm working, it's Anna Vocino's dry rub pork chops from the First Eat Happy with some Brussels sprouts, literally every day. So it's stuff like that. It's, the inability to keep friendships. It's the inability to recognize social cues and, basically say things you're not supposed to say. The classic example I give of this is at some point, it probably was around 10. No, I was probably around 8 or 7. And it was the summer. We went to get ice cream. My sister wasn't with us. And I saw somebody from school. They said, "Hey, how's your sister doing?" And I said, "Oh, she got her period and has really bad cramps." Right. So my father just immediately yanks me, and there's a cloud shape of me there because I got pulled away so fast. So it was things like that. And just the few things that he listed too, it just resonated with me. So I made an appointment, and then as it turns out, she also did like an IQ test at the time. And apparently I'm like one bad science experiment for becoming like a Bond villain or a super villain or something. So, but yeah, it was just simply reading that book, and then doing, and I hate this term now because it's been turned upside down and abused the last few years, but I did my research, and it was everything that I've seen since then. And I've done a bunch of cognitive behavior therapy. And there's actually a guy that I don't know if you've ever heard of, Gary John Bishop.
No, I haven't.
He's an author. I think he's Scottish, but he lives in this country now. And I think you would really dig him. I can't remember if this is one of his podcasts or his books, but I have like this little list of cognitive behavior therapy objectives. And the preface to it, I think you'll like this preface. I took from his podcast, and I kind of had to tweak it a little bit, but it's, if I want to make a change in my life, I have to take actions in my life, and every day has to reflect the actions consistent with the future I'm after. Which, when you hear that, it's sort of like a well duh statement, but it was kind of a bit of a game changer for me. So that in this whole process of like having to relearn how to navigate the world and deal with an ex-wife and having to co-parent with her, I was still basically using food to kind of cope with a lot of stuff. And so eventually I got that under control finally. And it was like, because I'd done it many times before, but it just took me a little bit. And the food. And so there came a point in the process where I was like, okay, last year was getting about my health and fitness back on track, because I saw some pictures of me that I didn't like. And then this year has been the financial aspect, post-divorce and all of that. But it's just, it's not easy sometimes. And that's kind of one of those things I just, why I liked hearing, from Scott, or I think it was Tim was on recently, just how, everybody struggles, no one is necessarily perfect, but you just kind of gotta figure out what you want and then work towards that. Even if you stumble, And I think the last time I talked to you, Gary Taubes had just had a book out where he talked about, you know, if you on your way to the airport and you get a red light, you don't turn around and go home. You know, you wait for it to get green and then you go again. So, and that's basically what I've, you know, been trying to do. I will say that at some point last spring, you know, every now and again became a lot more frequent, and just, you know, the weight started to creep up again, but got it under control. And the best example of that is, so 4 weeks ago today, I crashed one of my road bikes into the side of a bridge. So
how the hell did you do that? The bridge doesn't move.
Well, you see, so this is a very infamous bridge over in Newcastle, New Hampshire. It's graded, but there's a sidewalk. I hopped up on the sidewalk with a couple other folks on the group ride, and it was sort of a thing where I realized at the wrong moment, I think I'm going too fast. I should probably slow down. And what I didn't know, there was a little jog sticking out on the sidewalk, and I was unprepared for that. And that just front wheel went, and I just slammed into the side of the bridge. The bike was fine, thankfully, but I had the mother of all. I had like a watermelon-sized bruise on my thigh. And so between that and then 2 weeks later, I got COVID and had to deal with that for a second time. But I was very mindful that entire time, especially the night of the bike crash, because we were starting and finishing at a local brewery, and I was going to have a beer. I was going to treat myself, you know, but I just was like, I'm leaving, going home, threw my toys in the car and left. But I decided that I had to be very mindful of my feelings in that moment, because all I wanted was like ice cream or something that I knew would be tasty, but at the same time, I would regret later. And
it sounds like you were trying to conjure up a reason to feel sorry for yourself, to have the ice cream.
Yep, exactly.
I smashed my bike. I'm going home. I deserve fill in the blank.
Yep.
Am I getting that right? Because look, totally. I mean, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with being on the spectrum. If I got tested, I would be on the spectrum. There's no two ways about it.
Wait, you do like trains?
Yeah, and you should meet the guy that's helping me with the train.
I was going to make that joke.
Well, here's the other thing too. So, like, you know the joke about Italians talking with their hands.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the stereotype is that autistics will clap their hands. So, in theory, you would think the entire country of Italy is autistic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And look, I mean, right now, here, I'm going to hold my hands up. I have a knife in my hands.
Yep.
And the whole time I'm podcasting, I'm doing this.
Yeah, you're stimming.
Right?
Yep.
When I sit down in the chair over here, there's a Zippo lighter. And I sit there while I'm watching television all night.
Yep.
I've worn out Zippo lighters. I don't smoke.
Yep.
But I probably have 30 of them.
Well, they're nice.
Maybe more. And most of them, the wicks, the wicks are brand new. Sometimes I'll click them open and light them and close it. Flick it open until it runs out of gas. I can't watch football without doing it, right? Now, if I went to a doctor, instead of telling them all this, they would start offering me drugs. And here's how I know. Back in 1996, it was when I was winning a lot of 24-hour mountain bike races. Because guess what? Mountain bike, or bike in general, as you know, is the bike never hurts you. Even when you run into a bridge, the bike does not hurt you, right? And you're doing something repetitive. And when you do something repetitive, it releases my mind to be able to do other things.
Exactly. Right? The same thing happens with me.
So I know that about myself. I don't need to go see Frazier to figure that out, right? I know that I have an issue. I've been hiding my issue my entire life, but in 1996, one of my clients who ran, let's say, probably one of the biggest sitcoms of all time. She was on two of the biggest sitcoms of all. I'll tell you the two sitcoms. One was called Cheers.
Yep.
Ever hear of it?
Yeah.
Ever hear of Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yep.
Can we agree that that's two of the biggest sitcoms of all time?
Oh, sure. Yeah. 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 Especially Cheers.
Okay.
Doesn't Cheers rank as like one of the highest rated, highest viewed finales, like after MASH or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much. All right. So this woman was one of the writer producers for both of those shows.
Okay.
And I took a couple 100 pounds off of her. Right. She was one of my big successes in Hollywood. That's how all the sitcom actors and actresses started going, wait a minute. You lost, go get this guy that is around before Ozempic. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That I didn't get famous because I was cute and funny. I got known because I would take hundreds of pounds off of people. That was my job, right?
Yep.
I didn't care who it was. This woman, said we used to argue. She trained with me for probably 10 years, 15 years. She used to argue with me that nobody is on the spectrum more than me. And I would say, okay, you say that. And she would say, you're cycling, you ride a bike all night, you don't go to bed the next day, you just keep working, you do all these things, right? You do all this stuff. You're on the spectrum. Okay. She finally said to me, she goes, I'll stop saying this to you. If you go, she goes, I have this Harvard trained, he's the top guy in Beverly Hills, all the BS that we hear. Go sit with this guy. I told him if he had to sit with you all day, I'll pay whatever it is. I want you to go visit this guy. So he interviewed me for like 4 hours, nonstop. And I sat there very open and let him talk to me about my life and everything about my life. It's kind of cathartic. I'm going to be honest. I was enjoying myself. And I wanted to know, right? And when we were done, he told me, he goes, yeah, you are a high functioning this and that and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, it's pretty amazing that you have created a world around yourself that you live in by yourself. You've created a job for yourself. You know how to pretend to be human in public and all, he's telling me all these things. And he said, I can give you a medication. I could put you on a cocktail of medications and you can probably live a better life. And I said, well, explain that to me. He goes, well, he goes, you know how on a Saturday, if you say you have to ride the bike for 18 hours, you can't get off in 17 hours and 25 minutes. I said, yeah, that's right. He goes, okay, you might go out on a bike ride and after 4 or 5 hours, you'll go, you know what? I've had enough. And he goes, you know how you do this and that and the other thing, and you got to stop and do this and that and the other thing. He goes, it won't matter anymore. And I got up and I walked towards the door and I said, Doc, these drugs you're talking about. I turned around at the door and I said, these drugs you're talking about, how long have they been around? He goes, well, some of them since the 1940s or 50s and this and that, and Sigmund Freud, this and that and the other thing. And, some of these drugs are brand new and SSRI this and, synapses that, he's like throwing big words around. I said, so they're all pretty recent, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, that's a good thing. He goes, why is that a good thing? I said, because if those drugs were around, Bernini and Michelangelo wouldn't have ever picked up a hammer or a chisel, and we wouldn't have the great art that we have today, and I love looking at it. And he thought about it for a second, and he goes, you know what? You're probably right. Think about it.
Yeah. Well, I can say that in my experience, there were no drugs offered. So it was just, here's your report. You got it. Go with God. And I'm like, okay. And in one sense, this is a callback to the early 80s that you were, I don't know how old Chris is, but do you remember that show, The Greatest American Hero?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, right. So it's kind of like that where like, the main character gets the suit from the aliens and then he loses the book on how to use it. Right. So basically, here I am at 47 and I've got to figure out now basically how to rejigger my life and come to all these conclusions about like, like I fully, I fully accepted my role in the collapse of my marriage because I had this thing that got worse over time that I didn't know that I had, so it was one of those things where how do you treat, and like and I have a therapist, she's awesome. And like she said, well, okay, now that we know this, we've laid the foundation and we can go forward. And it's, by all accounts, with except probably my ex-wife, I am not the same person I was 4 years ago. And sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't, but overall I'm just, I went through hell and now I'm on the other end of it and I'm in a much better place and probably a much better person to be around overall. So
yeah, but Chris, you see, the other side of it is you're the same person, right?
oh, right, totally.
And by the way, that person's a good person.
Yeah.
The problem, you see, your wife is probably blaming either you or the fact that you now have a title that she can whip around to all of her girlfriends about you, right?
No comment there. No comment there.
When she's out there enjoying wine, she's going, of course, Chris has got, he's on the spectrum. Do you realize what I had to deal with? Right?
Yeah. Well, no. So what I mean though is like, so I am the same person and I totally get that. But like now I know I have a better idea of how to like go about the world. So I have a better understanding of how to go through the world and what I'm doing when I go through the world, and just knowing, certain things about me, like how at the end of the day I'm exhausted. That's from being in a corporate world and having to mask all day, or knowing and understanding now, for example, going back to cycling, that it's a repetitive physical movement. And so that's why, I love going to the gym and doing, stretching and running and doing weights. I go there 5 days a week. We got a wicked awesome one at my company. And then I'm on my bike, and those are all basically self-care things, especially. And I used to think that I was being selfish for all the time I would spend on my bike, not realizing that it was basically a kind of therapy. And I'm not someone that listens to music or whatever, one, for safety purposes, but two, I just want to hear the world around me. And so I will have that situation. And sometimes it sucks, or all of a sudden I get a data dump from a program running in the background that says, oh, this is what happened there. And I'm like, oh, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes it kind of ruins the ride a little bit, but then I get over it and go about it, So it's been an interesting learning experience to like better understand how I operate.
Are you planning on getting into a relationship again at some point in your life, or are you done?
I am actually right now. Actually, I'm in a relationship with, and I can't remember. I thought I tweeted this at you a couple years ago when I got this, but my partner is the athletic bands director at the University of New Hampshire. And so she does this thing where she goes to these conferences and they have swap meets.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get different swag from different schools. And one of the shirts I got recently, or in the last couple of years, was a Tulane marching band t-shirt.
Really? Because we didn't have much of a marching band. We weren't like Southern or Grambling, those other schools in Louisiana with the big bands. Well, listen, Chris, I wish I could stay on with you all night, buddy, but and I want you to come back on and keep me posted. But you got to remember, you have a superpower. You have a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Part of mine is I have, social. I don't have social anxiety. I just don't. I have to pretend I'm someone in society. I could be myself on this podcast. I could be on myself one-on-one when another person's around. But when I'm out in the world, I have to remember I feel like an alien half the time. It's like I have to remember to conduct myself the way the world expects to see a 63-year-old man.
Yep.
Right. Which, so sometimes we have to pretend, you know they say fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll never make it, so I'll just keep faking it.
Yeah. So before I go, I just want to give you a recommendation, because I always know you're talking about documentaries you want to watch.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know how recent this came out, but I just discovered tonight a 2-part Charlie Sheen documentary.
Oh, it must have just come out because I saw it there.
Yes.
And I kept going to it, and it's like, it's coming soon. It's coming soon. So is it out? All right, Charlie Sheen.
Yes, it's out. I started watching it. I was sitting here watching it before, and I got so wrapped up in it, I almost missed the time here. He is 100% open about everything.
Yeah.
There is no, he is not, because, a lot of it we know, but wait do you hear about his first time using crack?
Yeah,
I guarantee
I've
you're
always
gonna-
been interested in him for whatever reason, and I've been waiting for that to come out. It's on Netflix, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I keep every time I go, oh, I want to watch this because he's about my age, and you know, I used to see him around. I might know one or two of his exes, that kind of thing. So I know a little bit about Charlie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And some of the other celebrities that are in it, you know, I'm like, it's just fun to see, you know, back those old pictures of like California before it became what it is now, you
Yeah.
know, and seeing how kind of rural everything looked, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
It's crazy. You know, look, even when I got there in 90, it was much different than it was when I left in, 2019. You know, in those 30 years, you know, it all changed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. All
So,
right. Well,
yeah,
thanks for having
thank
me
you.
on.
Yeah, I just wrote it down. I will, as soon as we're done here tonight, I'm going right to it.
You just checked a bunch of boxes for Vinny. You said documentary and someone interesting.
Yeah.
Well, like I
Right?
said, he doesn't hold any punches. And yeah, and Heidi Fleiss's her opinion of him is interesting as well because she shows up, of course.
Well, ta-da, she always shows up.
So
Well, it's nice talking to you, Chris.
it's nice talking to you guys.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, my Chris.
Yeah.
Did you knew I was stimming because I sit here and do this all night?
Yeah, and actually, Chris may want to take notes if he hasn't checked this out yet. Do you know who Dave Plummer is, Vinny?
No.
I doubt it. You're not a nerd. So Dave Plummer is the guy that invented Task Manager and a bunch of other like fundamental programs on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Lex Friedman, I want to say a week ago.
Yeah.
And about 3/4 of the conversation is about dealing with being on the spectrum. And he didn't know until he was in his like mid 50s, I think, that he was on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so he was working at Microsoft in the early days at Microsoft, pissing everyone off because he didn't understand social cues. Right. And he's just like, okay, just tell me what you need. Right. Like, just give me the answer or ask me the question. I don't understand. Very interesting interview. Chris, you'll appreciate that one. I got a lot out of it, but they talk a lot about stimming and dealing with being on the spectrum in the real world.
Well, Chris, you'll see when we're in meetings, right? And like we were having a meeting with those two women the other day, and I just went off on a story, and Serena was like, "You need to come back. You need to come back." And usually when she does that to me in the meeting, I'll just get up and go get a cup of coffee and then come back to the meeting, and that usually resets me, for the meeting, because we pay a lot of money to be in these meetings. And I mean, there's toys all over my desk. I have to look at a compass all the time just to make sure north is still.
Just to make sure you're still facing the right direction.
No, I don't have that problem, but I need to know that north is still over there and south is still over there and east. I just need to know. And so there's a compass that sits on my desk just to let me know. I need to know where everything is.
So you asked me to find, I think 10 crazy Postum ads.
Yeah.
Vinny.
Yeah.
We got to wrap this up. So we won't dive into this on this
All right.
episode, but I found an archive.
Good.
In the early 1960s,
Mm-hmm.
they went from their regular ads to making comic strips with a character named Mr. Coffee Nerves,
I remember those.
who blames everything from a guy throwing a hissy fit on the basketball court and almost getting kicked off his college basketball team to the increase in divorce.
Wow.
To your children hating you as a parent
Wow.
on you drinking coffee.
Yeah, Chris, we got to do a whole campaign on that. Look, even the great Howie Mandel, we were flying around, privately. Howie would take me with him sometimes, and he he noticed that on the plane, I would never drink alcohol on the plane, whatever, but I was always drinking coffee and coffee and coffee. And, he would be going on stage at 10 o'clock at night and he would see me backstage just drinking coffee. And he would go, you know what? Coffee is your stimulant that keeps you on the straight and narrow, the same way that some people take Adderall to stay on the straight and narrow. And then he walked out on stage and I was like, wait, what do you mean? I almost walked on stage with him to go, wait, let's come back. You got to tell me the rest of this. But yeah, I've been accused of all kinds of stuff. That's probably why I don't drink a whole lot. All right, folks, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire and it gets my train down the track. I'm able to keep this show free for 1,000,000 years in a row. Rate and review this podcast. I want to thank everybody for being on tonight. Chris and Brandon and Mike, Chris. And we talked about the times of suffrage with women and the whole thing during this podcast, I think. So for that reason, we will be playing this song on behalf of everyone. My name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with David Bowie.